How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Module 3. Really what I want to do in this video is, first of all, be brief. But more importantly, I want to take a look back at Module 2, as well as explore what's to come in Module 3 with the business model canvas. So when we think back to last week, it was really just about analyzing an industry for opportunity. And so after we've come up with our idea, how can we look and examine if in fact there is a place for us in the market? And so one of the things that Professor Cravey talks about a lot is this Shark Tank example where everyone knows Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, and when people go on the show, they'll oftentimes pitch this as that they've got this industry that they're entering, and if they could just capture a small percentage, 1 or 2% of the industry, that they're going to have a successful business. And immediately Mark Cuban shoots this down because the likelihood of us capturing 1 or 2% of an industry is very slim. And so really what we're trying to do as we explore our ideas is be less concerned about percentage of industry that we'll capture and more focused on kind of making sure that we've either carved a niche out for us in a specific industry or are completely disrupting industry, as we've talked about in modules 1 and 2. So with that being said, we want to kind of move forward to thinking about week 3 or module 3 and looking at the business model canvas. And so one of the things that I shared in the overview video initially was where this idea of a business model canvas came from. And really, it stemmed from the reality of so many entrepreneurs where they would spend weeks and months, and in some cases years, kind of coming up with this idea and writing out these long business plans, 40 and 50 and 60 pages long, and then they would launch these ventures to crickets, right? Like no one was there, and a lot of the information that they had hypothesized and kept secrets about along the way just ended up being totally false. And so the business model canvas is a way for us to understand and appreciate that while idea is important, it's ultimately almost all of it comes down to execution. And so a business model canvas is a way for us to really begin to kind of get the main things on paper and then get out there and test our hypotheses and start building products and services. And then we can iterate with them along the way. So I'm going to pull up here. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we got here. So if you would take a look here at this business model canvas, what you're going to see are several of these different boxes that have key components. So we're talking about key partners, key activities, key propositions, customer relationships, channels, customer segments, revenue streams, and cost structures. And really what it allows for, and in this case we're using Dropbox as an example, is it really just allows for us to get out the main pieces of our business. And then, as we talked about, just kind of test these things. But what it also does is just makes the whole, the initial company very digestible for people, both internally and externally. But maybe if we think about this even at a higher level, the kind of the 4 main components of a business model, or the product or the service, the customer segment, the value proposition, and the revenue. And the one thing that people tend to do is when we start looking and thinking about these different components, thinking about, is there an opportunity to innovate on some of these different areas? And so one example that we can kind of think about is the dental industry. If you would go back, maybe even 10, 15 years, dentist offices were open from 9 in the morning until 5 at night. And what several people understood was that this was not very user friendly. So anyone who was working throughout the day really only had one option, and that was to either take off work or just not go to the dentist. And um, and so somebody said, you know what, we can innovate on this. So this is kind of the customer segment. But if we would change the hours and create hours that lasted a little bit later into the evening, if we would simplify the user experience, if we could make it more timely so that people weren't sitting in waiting rooms for hours at a time in many cases, if we could just rethink these different segments of the business canvas model, or of the business model canvas, we would have an opportunity. And I think that we've started to see that. And banks are another industry that were innovated, as well as the minute clinics that you can go in, and the urgent care facilities that have been developed. So a lot of these in the healthcare space. So this week, obviously, we have a live conference on Thursday from 8 to 9:30. And if you are not able to make that, we will record it. And there's some information on Canvas for you to see how to get all of the points if you're unable to make it. But during that time, we are going to cover several different things. And so I'm going to click on this here. So one thing that you're going to do is you're going to work through the Zipcar case, and we will collectively create a business model canvas for Zipcar. We're also going to kind of just talk about some of the course material that we have gone through to date. And then if there are any team project questions that you have, you can feel free to ask them at that point. But pretty straightforward week. I think this business model canvas is great, not only for the Zipcar module, but also for you as you're thinking about your team ventures, and starting to get them on the business model canvas. So a couple of the things that we have coming up here that we are all aware of is that in week 4, we're going to have the innovation due. And so I hope that everybody is continuing to work on that. Obviously, the team projects are a huge part of this course. And so I want to continue to encourage people to be meeting and putting the time in necessary to really get those projects and those ventures moving in the right direction. It's been great to watch the team Zoom sessions. It seems like a lot of things are being accomplished, and people are certainly moving in the right direction as far as that's concerned. If you have any questions for me, feel free, as always, to reach out through email. And my cell phone number is also on the homepage of Canvas. But I'm really excited about the trajectory that this class is heading. Everybody has been very involved and engaged, and I really appreciate that. So look forward to chatting with everybody on Thursday at 8 o'clock during the live conference.